Greetings and salutations, my excellent friends. Welcome back once more. This is the QiRanger Podcast. This is episode 220, the last episode of the season. I can't believe it has been 5 months. Yes, 5 months. Wow. The time just flies. Since February, we've been doing this season of the podcast, and it is finally time to come to a close. Dear. But before we get too far underway, I raise my glass to you. Bourbon today. Cheers. That just hit the spot. Oh, we have to do another one. That hit the spot. Yes, this is the last regular podcast of season number 2 before we move into the summer hiatus season. But that doesn't mean necessarily that the podcast is going to stop until we resume season 3 in the fall. No, I'm hoping to get a few special audio gems along the way and upload those here. But yeah, over the last year, we've done 40 episodes, 20 in the first season, 20 in the second season. Such a nice rounded number. And I'm actually sad to see it go. I really enjoyed coming here Thursday afternoons, sit down, first only with the script and the microphone, but as we developed this podcast into something a little bit more, we changed into a little bit of a video feature. And this week I'm actually trying something new with some cool transitions, because when the podcast resumes in the fall, it will no longer be here on the QiRanger vlog channel. It'll still be on iTunes. It'll still be on the website. But the video podcast is going to migrate. It's ready for prime time. It's going to move to the QiRanger channel. It's still going to drop on Sunday mornings, but it will be on the main channel. And I'm really jazzed about that. I'm really jazzed about some of the upcoming changes to the podcast when we come back in the fall. But I'll talk about that more later this summer in a blog post. But before we get into some of the content features of this week's podcast, let's get with some announcements. Now, Friday night, it was awesome. Met with Adrian Lee, Hyunwoo-sun, SpongeBob, Hyojin An, and Expat Carrie on Wednesday of this week to have lunch with Adrian Lee and the writers for Catch the Wave on Arirang Radio. And we had a great time. That video went up with a sliding table, and you can actually see that in the content rewind. I'll get to that in a little bit. But we actually filmed that little promo to help bring his audience to my videos and my audience to Catch the Wave, because Adrian is a super nice guy. It's a lot of fun, and like I mentioned a while back, about once a month I will go on to Catch the Wave and talk about Korean culture and things that are going on in my life. Which brings me to another broadcast. I'm not going to have time to announce this before it actually takes place. But on June 28th, live at 7 a.m. on Korean time, I will once again appear on Korea Today. Now, that is the morning news magazine show by Arirang Television, and I'll be talking about one of my favorite Korean foods. I can't wait. Can't wait. It's a lot of fun, and this time we'll be doing it live. Last time I was on Korea Today, we actually pre-recorded my segment the day before. This time, we're doing it live, and usually it takes place in the second half of the show. So pay attention to the blog, the Twitter feeds, the Facebook feeds for links to how you can watch either online or with a mobile app. Now, personally, I don't have Arirang Television here in my home, but I do have the Arirang Television app on my iPhone. So a lot of times when I commute into the city, I can watch Korea Today, I can watch other Korean programs. So it's a lot of fun. At 8 a.m. in the morning following Korea Today, if you really like Korean dramas, music, those sorts of things, Adrian Lee has his Showbiz Today, Showbiz Korea, I believe it's called, repeated at that time. So you can watch him and his show as well. It's a lot of fun, a lot of great stuff. Looking forward to hopefully doing some more things with Arirang Television in the upcoming year. But until then, it's vacation time. I think we need to have some more bourbon. Vacation time. So the school year is just about ending. This week I gave my final exams to my classes. I'm in the process of grading the exams. Next week I share with my students their grades and then begin the process of inputting them into the computer system. And then I'm done. Oh yes, I'm a free man, born free, free as the, I don't remember the rest of the song, but I am free until the fall semester. And one of the benefits of working for a university is the really generous vacation time. So beginning July 4th, we are actually leaving Korea. We're going to Arizona for a little bit, and we're going to do some paintball. Oh yeah, we're going to do some paintball. I can't wait. I can't wait to take out some frustration. You know, when I was back in the United States, one of my favorite activities to do in the evening after a long, hard day at work was to boot up the Xbox and get the little gaming pad ready and just kill people online. It was so much fun. My brothers and I have gone paintballing before. It is so much fun, and I can't wait to get back and do it once more. Sorry, had to check something out. It's going to be a blast. From there, we're going to Alaska for a week-long cruise. And hopefully, the cruise ship will have some Wi-Fi and I can do a live broadcast, a Ustream broadcast from the ship while we're in the glaciers and you can see them calving. I really want to get that. I really want to capture the sound because the cracking as those massive sheets of compressed ice fall down is just breathtaking, and I want to be able to share that with you. After that, we're going to spend a few days in Seattle, drop down to Portland for a few days to see some old friends, head back to Arizona for a little bit, then head off to Sin City to catch up with some friends that we met there first in 2009 for the Super Bowl, hang out with them, go back to Arizona one last time before finally coming to Korea to resume the fall semester and the fall broadcast schedule. Now, with the fall broadcast schedule, the podcast will continue to drop on Sunday mornings. The big video of the week will come out on Tuesday and then another video on Friday. So still the Sunday, Tuesday, Friday schedule, but hopefully a lot of really cool stuff coming up in the fall. Have some great ideas, some great places we want to go, and some great topics we want to cover. So that is the big announcements. So let's get to some of the news stories this week. And the first one I want to talk about deals with the Boy Scouts of America. Now, in the news story that was recently posted, they're going to study their ban on gays. You know, if you're unfamiliar with the Boy Scouts of America, they're the founding group of the Boy Scouts around the world, and they are a private religious group. They may not always come off that way, but they really are a private religious group. And time again, they have told members that if you do not believe in God, that you cannot be a member of the Boy Scouts, that if you are homosexual, you cannot be a member of the Boy Scouts. And it's for those two reasons that I choose not to affiliate with the Boy Scouts. Even though in my youth I was a Boy Scout, my friends and family have supported the Boy Scouts for a number of years. I think the Boy Scouts teaches a lot of valuable leadership skills. I think they do a lot of good things. But because of those two particular policies, I do not support them. But they're looking at reevaluating their ban and whether or not as a global policy, they're going to lift that ban. They have come out and said that each individual troop can choose to enforce or not to enforce the ban on gays. So that's a step in the right direction. Hopefully they will go the rest of the way and homosexuals will be able to serve in the Boy Scouts openly without fear of being thrown out. One can only hope. They finally can serve openly in the military, the Boy Scouts, that should be a no-brainer. All right, coming back to Korea, comfort women. Okay, so this is a real hot button issue between Korea and Japan. When Korea was colonized, when it was occupied by Japan in 1910, all the way up through the end of the Second World War, unfortunately, the Japanese in power sexually enslaved a lot of women. They became known as the comfort women. And over the years, these women, these survivors of rape, of detrimental behavior, have been pushing for an official policy from the Japanese government. And over the years, the Japanese government has half-heartedly mentioned apologies. They've half-heartedly given reparations specifically for the comfort women. But all the action has always been on an insufficient level for those that were actually victimized by the Japanese. So much so that it's still a sticking point. Every week, the surviving comfort women protest in front of the Japanese embassy. I think the only time that they didn't attend their weekly protest was right after the earthquake and tsunami that happened in 2011. But every week they go out seeking for an apology. The Korean government has somewhat picked up on that and is also requesting an official apology. An apology from a state level. So we're talking the Prime Minister, the Emperor of Japan. Japan isn't carrying through on that. They've released statements that they feel that they have already said all they needed to say about the issue and have provided reparations as much as they need to. Now, I personally support the position of the comfort women. I believe the stress, the humiliation, the abuse that they suffered during the occupation warrants an official apology from the government, that they deserve reparation, meaningful reparation for their abuse. However, when Japan surrendered, during the Articles of Surrender, they were forced to pay to Korea for damages to infrastructure and damages to people in Korea. And Korea signed off on that, and they took the money. And so technically, I do understand where Japan is coming from in saying that they have already apologized, that they have already acknowledged wrongdoing, and that they have already paid for their crime of abusing these women during the occupation period. It's in writing, it's signed by both parties, and they gave the money and Korea took the money. But it's really insufficient. The women themselves were not apologized to. Japan apologized for mistreating Koreans to the Korean government. And that's an important step. I don't want to take anything away from that. I don't want to take away from the money that was transferred either. But the people that were really victimized in this never got the apology. And I think that's what needs to change. I think that's the sticking point. So why am I bringing this up now? Well, as with all World War II adults, they're at an age where they're starting to die. Their numbers are starting to dwindle. So the comfort women have erected a statue across from the Japanese embassy. And the Japanese embassy have filed a complaint saying that this is harassment, that they are demanding that this statue be removed. And I disagree with that. I really do. That until an apology is issued, there is no reason for that statue to be removed. It is not harassment. It is a reflection of historical facts. And I think that's something that Japanese lawmakers and officials should think of. So that's what I want to talk about with that. And the last bit of news, of course, is I love my iPhone. I love my Apple MacBook Pro. I love those things, as I have some more bourbon. So it was announced this past week that iOS 6 is coming out. Now, before I get to iOS 6, I want to say, Julia, my beloved 17-inch MacBook Pro laptop that I've used for 5 years, you are irreplaceable because Apple has dropped the 17-inch MacBook Pro from the line. I'm so sad. Which means that I'm in a quandary here. Julia works fantastic, but as I do more and more involved video editing projects, I need more computing power. Julia just doesn't have it. Her processor is overtaxed. Her memory is maxed out at 4 gigs. I need more power. So I'm either going to have to get a 15-inch MacBook Pro with the 8 gigs of RAM, which would be very nice, but sacrifice a lot of screen real estate, or finally get an iMac, a big iMac. I'm really considering getting the iMac. I'm really thinking that might be the best move because I do most of my work here in the office. And with the new HD iSight movie, I could actually use that to record the podcast. I mean, think about the possibilities. But let's talk about iOS 6, specifically the Facebook integration. A lot of people are saying that Apple is now, with the iOS 6 update, planning to take on Google, planning to eliminate Google. And I disagree. And this is why I disagree. Number one, a lot of people have made comments about why Facebook wasn't integrated with iOS 5 when it debuted last year. Twitter was the big thing. A lot of people use Twitter. It was very easy to write an appy into the iOS. With the exclusion of Google Plus in iOS 6, I think that's a smart business move. Think about it. When Google Plus first came out, everybody loved it. People spent hours on Google Plus. A few months ago, I saw a study that most users spend less than 5 minutes a day on Google Plus, compared to hours on Facebook. Now, if you're a programmer, why would you ever bother writing an app interface for a product that almost no one uses on a day-to-day basis? It makes no sense to write an appy for Google+. And the reason why I think that's the reason why iOS 6 doesn't have a Google Plus integration is because it was also announced that Ping, Apple's iTunes social network experiment, is going away. They realized that not enough people used Ping to warrant further development. So I think that's why Facebook was chosen to be integrated into iOS 6. It also gives Google Plus another year to bolster its services. So if it becomes a viable social media platform, then yeah, go ahead and integrate it. But why waste your time now? There's so many people who use Facebook, so many contests that rely on Facebook, that integrating it deeply in the iOS 6 architecture makes good business sense. The second thing they bring up of why Apple is planning to eliminate Google or take on Google directly is the dropping of Google Maps as the default map program on the iOS system. They're coming up with Apple Maps. And I think that's also a really good business decision. They've acquired all these 3D mapping companies, mapping technologies out there. The one thing that Google Maps, the app, never really did well was directions. It never went from point A to point B in a GPS navigation mode. Yes, you could select a route, but you could never actually use it as your phone and have it be your navigation on your dashboard. You had to go to the web application for Google Maps, or you had to use a third-party application. Here in Korea, I love my Ole Navi. It is a fantastic application. I love using Naver Maps. It does great at pinpointing directions and telling me how much a taxi cab is going to be. But Google Maps never really fulfilled its potential. It could have been this turn-by-turn directional navigation application. They've had years to update it. and they really haven't done it. So Apple moving away from something that is outdated into something that works, that they designed to meet the needs of users, again, it's a good business decision. And that's why I think that they have done that. So I'm looking forward to the update when it comes out this fall. But that is the news this week. Ladies and gentlemen, let's continue with the content rewind as I raise my glass. Bourbon in the afternoon. Yeah. All right. Let's talk about the Grand Ambassador Hotel. Oh my gosh, that was a fantastic stay. The video came out on Tuesday. The hotel review came out Tuesday as well. You can see links to both those articles and video in the show notes. And I want to say I didn't know much about the hotel. It was previously called a Sophie Hotel here in Korea. And I actually had the opportunity to speak with the Director of Sales and Management while we were there conducting the review as to why they changed the name. And what he shared with me was that the parent company had strict guidelines as to what each hotel could be called based on what services they offered. And since the Grand Ambassador does so many weddings, the Sophie hotels were no longer allowed to do weddings as a separate business. They could have weddings there, but they couldn't do it as a separate business. So the Grand Ambassador does a lot of weddings. I think that he said something along the lines of 240 weddings a year. So they created a separate brand for the hotel, and it works. The lobby's fantastic. The food is fantastic. In terms of a 5-star luxury hotel, the room was amazing. The bed was amazing. The pillow menu was amazing. Everything just about our stay was fantastic. And according to the website, it was something along the lines of $245 a night for our deluxe executive package, which is very affordable because if you go to, say, like Las Vegas and get a cheap room on the Strip, you're paying way more than that. And this is a 5-star facility with access to the executive room. A couple of questions that came in was, do I get anything from the reviews? And no, I haven't received any paid compensation for the reviews. I just, in exchange for the review, I get a complimentary stay and complimentary meals so I can try things out and honestly report on them. It's a good exchange. I get to try everything there, and I get to give a comprehensive review. A lot of reviews, if you go to TripAdvisor, are really not longer than a paragraph. Here, I try to do 2 or 3 uncut videos so people can see exactly what they're going to get when they get there. 1,000 or 1,500 word article review going into extreme detail over the room, over the benefits, what's good, what's bad, our meals, and then a short 2-3 minute edited video to kind of sell it all together. We had a great time. We loved our meal at Café de Chef. Unfortunately, the free beer and wine promotion's ending at the end of August, but I think we're going to have to go before we leave the country because that food was fantastic. It was excellent. Oh, yeah, I really do miss that. Oh, that was good. A comment came in on the video about the coffee in the room, about how, as an addict, I didn't think that 2 cups would be enough. And I mentioned this to the marketing team there. And the reason why I commented on the coffee not being enough is my rationale really is that if you're in a normal room, you're not paying for the executive upgrade. 2 capsules, 4 cups of coffee is certainly enough for most people. That's cool. I get that. In Korea, these Nespresso machines are like $200 a piece. I get it. It's a good value. It's a way to go. But if you're in the executive floor, you're on the executive floor, you're paying for the executive package where you have access to the lounge, where you can go to the lounge and get unlimited coffee. You can get unlimited water. You can get unlimited soda. You can go have breakfast, lunch, dinner included in your package. You can go for happy hour. You can get unlimited beer. You can get unlimited scotch, whiskey, all day long. And this is essentially 20 or 30,000 won per person. And you can potentially reap much more than that. Easily 100, 200,000 won per person. It makes no sense to only offer 2 capsules in the room. It should be significantly higher. You shouldn't have to go down to the lounge to get more coffee if you want more. That was my point. But a great stay. And if you are traveling to Seoul, if you want a really nice facility and the $200, $300 a night hotel are in your range, really recommended. Really, you need to get the executive food package. You can't go wrong. It's fantastic. With that, you don't even have to go down to the restaurants to eat. All your meals will be up there. They're really, really nice. Fantastic. Cheers. And as I have some bourbon, let's talk about cat poop. Oh yes, defecatingly good coffee. So Monday the blog post came out. Friday the video came out. And it's not really the video I wanted to do. So if you go to the blog post, you'll hear the audio from when I was at TBS EFM with An Jung-hyung, and we tried cat poop coffee there, the civet coffee from the Philippines. And for some reason, the camera didn't record. You see, when I hit the microphone, when I hit the camera, I'm good to go. And a lot of times I don't see flashing red lights because I'm so used to just setting it and going. So we did the entire video, what I thought was a video, and I looked at the footage and it was less than 1 second. Thankfully, we had all the audio. So you really have a good reaction from An Jung-hyung as she drinks the cat poop coffee. She says that she liked it. She says that you could tell it's really good coffee. And then when I told her what it was, she was a little bit shocked. And I have to say that personally, I do really enjoy this coffee. In fact, just the other night, Joe and I watched The Bucket List. And I loved that scene in the hospital with Morgan Freeman and Jack Nicholson as he finally discovers what kopi luwak is. It pooped out coffee. And my mother left a comment saying that she didn't want to drink it. But I have to say, it really is delicious. It really is good. The coffee that I picked up from the Yosu Expo, that was 45,000 won for 100 grams, $192 per pound with today's exchange rate, is better than what I had in Indonesia. And we were at a coffee luwak farm in Indonesia. So if you want to try this coffee and not pay a lot, you need to go to a plantation where they actually make it. When we were in Indonesia, I want to say 1 cup of kopi luwak was about $3, which is what you pay for a normal cup of coffee. So very affordable, very affordable. But I digress. This coffee, fantastic, very smooth, very full of flavor. Highly recommend it if you want to buy some really expensive coffee. But I will admit, this is not something I am going to buy. 45,000 won for 100 grams is insane, considering that I can go to Costco and buy some really good Rwandan coffee, some Ethiopian coffee, some Guatemalan coffee, and get 1.5 kilos for 20,000 won. I know where my money is going to be spent, but if you travel to the Philippines, if you travel to Indonesia, if you can find a place that serves 100% kopi luwak, or in the Philippines, civet coffee, try it. Let me know what you think. I think that if you love coffee, I think you'll like its rich, robust taste. But for my money, the Philippine coffee was a lot better than the Indonesian coffee. Over on the Korea blog, I had 2 articles come out since last podcast, and those were the hiking tips and 5 things to do in the summer. Now, the hiking tips, that blog article was the inspiration for the podcast piece that we did last week. And the 5 things to do in the summer, it was actually a lot of fun because I really wanted to try and create a fun list for people to do here in Korea. So I kind of coalesced all my favorite activities, ranging from parasailing to just gorging on delicious street food. Street food. Pardon me while I have a moment. Oh, yes. Myeongdong street food. Fantastic. One of the conversations that we had while we were pitching the ideas to Kosis for this article was that maybe street food in Myeongdong wasn't the best idea for it. Susie Chung, who's also a featured writer for the Korea blog, mentioned, you should include naengmyeon for this. And to me, I mentioned it in the article, but I really couldn't wholeheartedly support that as one thing for you to do in Korea, because if you're here in Korea for a short period of time, or you just want to experience some fun stuff in Korea, why have naengmyeon? It is naengmyeon season, and we'll actually talk about that a little bit later in the travel talk segment of the podcast. But street food is just fantastic. To have some hot dogs, to have some sausages, to have fried mandu on the street while you're shopping. That's what I like to do. You know, having naengmyeon is something you sit down for at a restaurant, not a splurging activity. So that was my theory, my thoughts behind it. And also, once before, the sliding tables with Adrian Lee with Arirang Radio. That was wicked cool, and I really need to take Joe back there because it was fantastic. If you haven't seen the video, really click on the link in the show notes. It'll blow your mind. If you've ever waited tables before, it will blow your mind. Just to briefly tell you what it is, instead of servers bringing dish by dish and placing it on your table, they bring the whole table to you. That's right, the whole table. And they slide the table over a mock table, and that's what's served to you. All your dishes are already preset, and you're good to go. It's fantastic. Really, really cool. And ladies and gentlemen, that is the last content rewind of this season. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time once more for the question of the week. Let me raise my glass to you. Bourbon. This question comes from Miss Janelle, aka Crazy Art, on Twitter. And she asks, do you eat more Korean food or international food? And do you cook Korean food often? And what are my favorite Korean or foreign restaurants in Seoul? And I thought this was a really good question. We got a little food theme going on here. So, let's talk about what do I eat most often. Well, Joe always teases me and says that I'm Asian because I love rice. And in fact, most times in the morning hours, I will have my coffee, and then I will have about a half cup of rice, maybe an egg, and of course some kim crushed on top. It just comes together so well. I really, really dig it. It's fantastic. Cooking-wise, we tend to cook rice and meat. Tonight, actually, we're going to have some pasta. And what else do we cook? We really don't cook that much here at home. And one of the reasons why is that when you collect ingredients here in Korea to cook with, sometimes they're really cost prohibitive. You can go out and have a great meal for 10,000-15,000 won for 2 people. Likewise, if you were going to go cook and get the ingredients for that single meal, a lot of times you'll spend a lot more than that. So a lot of times when we go out, we'll go out to have a Korean meal, and it'll be 10,000-15,000 won. In fact, earlier this week, We had an amazing meal. I won't tell you what it is because it is related to next Friday's video. But it was only 16,000 won. And we couldn't finish it. There was so much food, so much banchan that we could not finish the food. So a lot of times we just don't cook here. We met up with our friends recently, about a week and a half ago, and we brought, they brought, I should say, a lot of meat, and we grilled it right on the table. You know, that Korean barbecue right on the table is so good. But doing that at home would be significantly more expensive than going to a Korean barbecue restaurant. In fact, I had the opportunity to meet with Mark Shea, Overlander TV, since he's here in Korea. And we went to our favorite barbecue place in Songtan. And for 14,000 won per person, 14,000 won per person, unlimited meat. Unlimited meat. And I can assure you that I ate that 14,000 won easy. I just kept on getting more and more meat. So we don't cook a lot at home. We try to cook a lot at home. Usually when we do cook at home, it's either Filipino food, variation of American food, or some kind of meat and rice food. Joe and I both crave rice. We both crave meat. So a lot of our dishes go along with that. We also have a slow cooker that we use to make some pot roasts as well. So that's what we do at home. Now, foreign foods or things, or restaurants that we go out to in Seoul, and not just here. In Dongtan, we have our favorite fried chicken restaurant, and whether we're at a self-serve bar or here at the apartment or some other place, we tend to order from there. I love their food. I love the quality. It's a chicken maru chain. Fantastic service, fantastic food. And I really enjoy watching a movie or just hanging out with Joe and having that come. It's fantastic. Some of the other food that we get a lot. When we're in Seoul and we have time, I love going to On the Border. It's my favorite Mexican chain from the United States. And while the price is just outrageous here, outrageous, $20 per meal here in Korea, they have excellent chips and salsa, excellent margaritas. So a lot of times, if I'm in the COEX area, the Gangnam area, I just love going to the bar and having chips, salsa, and margaritas. Fantastic. Oh, I have bourbon here, but I'm thinking about chips, salsa, and margaritas. In Itaewon, I love Vatos Korea. Their combination of the carnitas and the chili and the fries and the kimchi works for them. Their LA style tacos works for them. Really good. There's a review on the QiRanger.com website from when we went there really early this year. Really like it. It's about, I want to say, each serving of tacos where you get 3 is around 9,000 won, which isn't exactly cheap, but for Western food in Korea, it's not too expensive. Again, really good food. You do need to call ahead because they fill up very quickly, but really good food there. Some of the other restaurants we like, over at the Grand Ambassador Hotel, Cafe de Chef. Great food, great value. Nothing's too expensive. Even though it's a 5-star hotel, it's not expensive, and I think the value you get for your meal is really, really good. In Gangnam, we like the original Dos Tacos. They have several branches all over Korea, but their burritos are some of the best I have ever had, and I really do appreciate that. There are also several makgeolli houses in Gangnam, along Gangnam Road, that are just delicious. And I really need to thank my friends Sunny and Justin for introducing Joe and myself to them. They are brilliant, brilliant places with fantastic dongnongju and makgeolli and the pajan. Oh, now I'm thinking about pajan. Oh, If you don't know what pajans are, it's fantastic, and we're going to be briefly talking about that in the next segment. One of my favorite Korean foods. Oh, deliciousness. Oh, deliciousness, yes. Some other restaurants. Here in Dongtan, right next to our building, there is a wonderful, just traditional Korean restaurant. And we go there for haejanguk. We go there for budae-jjigae. We go there. We're going to do a video coming up in the fall about Korean breakfasts. They have a really good Korean breakfast there. So I'm looking forward to that. So I hope that helps. I hope it answers your question. But Janelle, thank you so much for asking. We actually don't get up into Seoul all that often to eat since we're kind of south of the area. But we have a really good time down here, and we try to cook as much as we can, but we also enjoy our local restaurants significantly. So before I end this question of the week, I do want to take an opportunity to thank everyone who has sent in a question this season. And this actually is going to be the last question of the week in the podcast. Moving forward, I'm actually replacing this segment with something new. I'm really jazzed about that. But what I wanted to do was open up the floor for discussion, the opportunity to ask more questions and address those more in personalized video responses. So while the question of the week will no longer be here in the podcast, it will continue to be on the vlog channel or on QiRanger.com. And on QiRanger.com. So please keep those questions coming. I will always take the time to answer them because it is a lot of fun. And being here for 4 years, I've had a lot of experiences. So if you're coming to Korea, I'll be happy to answer any questions you have about that. If you have a question about life in Korea, I'll be happy to answer that as well. Or if you just have an off-the-wall question, I'll be happy to answer that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is time once more to talk travel. And today I am joined on location, no less, by Mr. Joe McPherson.
Hi. Hello, everyone.
Now, he is the progenitor, the man, the myth, the legend behind ZenKimchi.com and one of the voices on the Soul Podcast.
Thank you so much. I can't believe I'm actually on screen with you now. I'm watching you for so long.
And we have coffee.
We have coffee. You have a hot, I have ice. They are coffee of the day. Ooh, we just showed the brand, so.
Oh, yes, we're.
All right.
You know what coffee we're drinking today? Starbucks for those listening.
Yeah. So you're anti-Starbucks activist. You can turn off now.
Yeah. So Joe, have some questions for you?
I might have some answers in return.
Oh, hopefully. Now, Zen Kimchi, the oldest running food blog here in Korea.
Mm-hmm.
How did you get involved with food?
I've been eating from a very early age.
Get out of town. Really?
Yeah, you can tell that. Just the family. My family's always been involved in the restaurant industry in some form or another, and so it's kind of in my blood. My little brother's a chef, and I almost became a chef too. And I thought there would be more money going into the tech business. We saw how that turned out.
I remember that.
So I got into. I've just always been into food. I've been obsessed with food all the time. And then I got here and I discovered food blogs. This is 2004.
Mm-hmm.
And I never heard of a blog before, much less a food blog, but I fell in love with them. But I saw that there were really no active Korean food blogs. There was one that showed up for a short while, but then he just left for China. So I started Zen Kimchi so I'd have something for myself to read. And that's why I call it a food. It's called a Zen Kimchi Korean Food Journal, the original one, because it's really just more of a journal of stuff I cook. Yeah, stuff I cook, stuff I eat. It's like a travel log of Korean food.
Now, how did you get involved? Or I shouldn't say get involved, but what fascinates you the most about Korean food? Because not only have you been doing Zen Kimchi, but you've also done some television programs, traveling around, talking about food and what. So what do you love about food here in Korea?
Food in Korea. Well, one of my reasons for coming to Korea is I was so obsessed with so many types of Asian cuisines, but I know nothing. I knew nothing about Korean food.
That's how I came here, because I knew nothing about Korean culture and history.
Oh, I knew a little. I mean, I studied Korean history in college.
Okay.
But what's funny is I got sick the one day that the professor brought Korean food to class. So I was really angry about that. So I wanted to come to Korea because I knew so little about the food. I really wanted to explore it. And now that I've been here a long time, now, of course, everyone goes through that little stage where they just are so tired of it because it's basically all you can get. But it's just one of those cuisines that's an acquired taste. And like most anything that's an acquired taste, once you get it, you really get obsessed with it.
So what is something people, because most people, when you talk about Korean food, it's kimchi.
Yeah,
it's
barbecue.
Barbecue.
People think barbecue.
Yeah, so those two foods. But what is something that people who don't know a lot about Korean food should know about the food, or what makes it special, what really makes you passionate
Well, of course,
about it?
barbecue's good.
Well, yeah. Don't get me wrong there.
I think what's really interesting is how really Koreans are at the dark arts of fermentation.
Okay.
A lot.
Please expand on that, sir.
Well, because of the location, we're at a. It's kind of hard to grow things here. On top of that, it's a very strategic location, so it's a long history of turmoil and wars, and it's a sort of a cold climate. So Koreans had to be very creative with their food. In fact, they're one of the only cultures that's figured out how to make food with acorns. So if you've read Jared Diamond's work, he says that no cultures do anything with acorns. Well, Koreans do, because they've had to be very creative in coming up with food. And you find that these types of food cultures, rural, like traditionally rural cultures, tend to have some really, really good food to come out of that. So if you, especially if you veer away from the usual urban cuisine here, if you head out to the country, and I'm sure you know this, if you head out to the country, it is some of the best food you've had. It's on par with Provence in France. It's really amazing stuff, and it's so under the radar. People don't know it. It's not really exported, because I think Koreans themselves, after going from being one of the poorest nations in the world to one of the richest, have a little bit of a love-hate relationship with their rural past.
Oh, quite
and
possibly.
so they don't. I don't think they've really realized that it's actually quite a valuable asset. It's really something people would love, and they haven't really exported it that well. So if you come to Korea, check it out.
And if you come to Korea and you want to try some food, Zen Kimchi now has an option for you.
We have been planning this for a long time, and we're finally getting around to it. We're doing food tours.
So what is a food tour?
Basically, it's a walking tour.
Okay.
It's very casual, and we hit up a few places to go eat. I try to throw in a few stories and a few interesting spots on the way. And it's a pretty good time. The point of our style of tours is they're meant to be social. They're meant to meet other people who love food.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of the impetus of what we do. We also we did a pop-up restaurant a couple of months ago, and that was the reasoning behind our pop-up, was so that people can meet each other. We intentionally sat people who didn't know each other at the same tables.
Oh, cool. And
a lot of people met new friends. So that's kind of what we do.
What kind of food did you have at the pop-up restaurant?
The concept was, it was funny, if Korean food 200 years from now. So Korea's become totally multicultural. What's going to be Korean food in the future? And we did Cajun boiled shrimp with 3 types of Korean sauces. We did a sesame leaf pesto, a spicy aioli, and I love this. It's a gochujang wasabi cocktail sauce. That's really good. I think the hit for the night was our pork belly. It was done like galbichim, so it was slowly braised in soy sauce and sugar, and that came out really nice with cilantro kimchi.
Oh,
really interesting.
Oh, Joe, it's so fantastic. So you've just been naming a couple of delightful dishes here, but for someone who hasn't had any Korean food, aside from barbecue, aside from kimchi,
oh God, now you eliminate the easy ones.
Well, no. Foods that you would recommend to someone who would want to try it, because I get a lot of questions about, I want to try some Korean foods. What's not spicy?
Oh, okay.
And then I come up with a few options. because I love spicy food, so it doesn't bother me. But there are a lot of people who don't. But Korea has a ton of different kinds of foods. Mm-hmm. So what are some of your recommended types?
If you can get your hands on it, and I think it does exist outside of Korea as well as M.
But even if they come here,
they come here, and you gotta hunt for it. And actually, I was at a gathering last weekend with a bunch of foreigners, and they'd had this for the first time. They said it's one of their favorite foods already. It's boribap.
Oh yeah, boribap's fantastic.
Mm-hmm. It's a variation of bibimbap, but it has barley in the rice, and the stuff that you put in it are more rustic. The types of ingredients you throw in there. It's not really spicy because it uses more of the soy paste, the doenjang, than it does the pepper paste. And you get some sesame oil, and it's a really nice hearty dish. That's a good one, and usually you get it with some really good side dishes with that. Usually, all boribap places tend to have some really, really good country vittles, country fixins with it, and I like that.
Okay. What else?
The soup in the wintertime, I would definitely promote the soups. It's very big soup culture.
So what's your favorite wintertime soups?
My favorites won't be the favorites of everyone's. I'm a big fan of the cheonggukjang, which is the stinky dead body soup, soybean paste soup. But doenjang jjigae is really good. Kimchi jjigae, of course.
Yeah, see, my wife loves doenjang jjigae. She eats it all the time. I'm a big kimchi jjigae fan. There's a restaurant right around our place that serves a really nice budae jjigae. So we go there. I
love budae jjigae.
A lot. So good.
It's a scary soup. Now that's one rule about Korean food is that the worse it sounds, the better it is. Because there's just so few ways to really make a description that's really attractive to the Western palate.
Well, one of the things that's funny is with the place that we go to, every time we go get budae jjigae, it's always something different. The ingredients are always different, which is the greatest story behind budae jjigae, which is the army camp stew. That they just took what they had and they threw it in there to make the stew.
Spam and hot dog soup.
Well, yeah, but then you take whatever. If you have some mandu, we'll throw that in there. Have some ramen noodles, we'll throw that in there.
Some cheese, throw some baked beans.
Right.
The baked beans are good in there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so basically every time we go to this place and have budae jjigae, it's always a different recipe, and it's brilliant.
Another soup that's off a lot of people's radars is kongbiji jjigae.
Yeah.
And kongbiji is kind of the leftovers from making tofu. The same way ricotta cheese is the leftovers from making, I think, mozzarella.
Something like that.
Yeah, but it's basically like ricotta cheese. And usually when you have it, think of like a kimchi jjigae with this ricotta cheese inside. And so it's smoothed out. It's kind of like a creamy, spicy soup. I really love that stuff. That's really hearty.
Ooh, fantastic.
There's a place that's right down the street that makes really good stuff.
All right, I have another question for you. For those that don't know, okay, so Korea has what they call the Korean pajeon.
The pajeon or the panchan.
The pajeon.
The pancake.
Pancake.
Yeah.
But there's also bindadok.
Yeah.
So what is the difference between those two? Because if you're walking down the street and you didn't know, you saw them, they essentially look the same.
It's the ingredients. Pajeon comes from pa, which means leek or green onion. And bindadok is a mung bean pancake. Now, the pajeon is made from basically it's a flour-based one. So it's flour, not flowers.
It looks
wheat flour with onion, and many times you get seafood stuck in there. Bindadok is actually made from mashed mung beans.
Okay.
I don't think there's any flour in it. I have to check again. The texture is more like a fried cornbread to me.
Yes, and it's delicious.
I love it. It's best with makgeolli. It's a great summer dish, by the way.
Yeah, right down by the university as I'm walking to the station, there's a bindadok place. And it really is.
There's one
fantastic.
right over there. I know this place
right
so
over
well.
there.
There's one right over there. I think they're called Jongno Bindadok, and they specialize in all these variations. They do nothing but that and makgeolli.
Two of my favorite.
I know,
favorites.
it's good.
Excellent. Anything else you'd like to add about Korean food that maybe someone doesn't know?
It's a lot more diverse than you think it is. Regional cuisine is something that I'm starting to discover myself.
Yes.
The Andong, which is the central part of of South Korea. It's kind of like it's considered the haven of traditional Korean culture, and it has unique foods that you don't find anywhere else. It's very landlocked, so their fish is very, very salty. The salted mackerel, which tastes really good. Of course, the jimdak, the braised chicken there. So that food is really good. Gangwon-do, Chuncheon province, is the home of dakgalbi and makguksu. So you have your chilled noodles, you have your spicy grilled chicken.
Which is my favorite.
I love Gangwon-do cuisines. And then the Jeju-do cuisine is so different. The Jeju Island cuisine, to me, kind of tastes like Korean mixed with a little Japanese and Southeast Asian.
Well, and that makes sense given its location as well.
Its location, but I could swear there's like some peanut or coconut flavor in some of the foods. I really couldn't get it. I mean, what the cool thing is going out for breakfast and you get to have a seaweed soup with sea urchin in it.
Oh yeah,
and it's cheap.
Well, yeah. Well, and that's one of the things that I love about eating out here, because a lot of my friends ask me, "Do you make Korean food at home?" Mm-hmm. And yes, we do from time to time. But by the same token, going out to eat is a lot of times more economical than actually buying the ingredients at the market and cooking them yourself.
Many times, if you're going for Korean food, yes.
Yeah, especially for Korean food.
Foreign food, no. Foreign food, especially if you milk your own cow and you make your own cheese, it's cheaper that way.
Oh yeah,
it's getting cheaper. It's getting much easier here. The food options in Korea have, just in my time here, have gotten so much better. The foreign food has gotten so diverse and so attainable, but even the Korean food itself has gotten more diverse. I think Seoul for a while had an issue of being a little bit of a monoculture, and even the Korean food in Seoul is starting to get a lot more diverse. We're seeing a lot more things and innovation every year. Mm-hmm. It seems like every summer the naengmyeon recipe changes. To me, they keep throwing something new in it.
Yeah, and for those that don't, naengmyeon is the frozen noodle dishes they serve out here in the summertime. Which, when I first came to Korea, I thought that was very odd.
I didn't like it at first, but then someone taught me the right way to eat it, and now.
Well, what is the right way to eat it?
Well, I didn't know you're supposed to put the vinegar and the mustard in it to measure the taste, to balance the taste out.
Oh, okay.
To your flavoring. But also, I first had it in the wintertime, but the best time to have it is right outside in the summer. I used to sit right over there, right by the fountain in the sweltering heat with the chilled giant stainless steel bowl.
Oh, yeah, it's
and you just take that up to your mouth. It's like you're just diving into a swimming pool.
Yeah, the first time I'm going to have some chilled noodle soup. I'm like, you got to be out of your mind. Soup is hot. Soup is scalding.
Yeah, chilled noodles.
But it works. It's fantastic, and it's one of my favorite summertime dishes.
It is, by far. This is naengmyeon season right now. I love it.
Cool. Well, Joe, thank you very much for joining me on the podcast this week.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm such a fanboy.
Oh, gosh. All right. For you that would like to know more about food, not only here in Korea, but all over the world as it relates to spicy goodness and all the things we have to offer here, you can follow Joe and his team of editors over at zenkimchi.com. You can also follow his tweets on Twitter at Zen Kimchi. Thank you very much, Joe.
Thank you.
All right. All right, and then we do the Travel Talk segment, which is in its entirety. Well, ladies and gentlemen, what do you know? That is it. This is the end of the podcast, episode 220, the 20th episode of season number 2. And again, thank you so much for joining me this week. Thank you so much for joining me this past season, these past 20 weeks. It has been a lot of fun. If you have any ideas of what you would like to see in the next season, starting in September, if you have any questions or feedback that you'd like to send me, please do so. You can do so by messaging me in the comments down below or through email at podcast@QiRanger.com or through Twitter. Just send a message to @QiRanger. And I'll be happy to respond to you or actually try to work that into a show. These podcasts are so much fun to do. I love sitting down and generating the script. I love sitting down and just talking about Korea, talking about travel, talking about the news. It is so much fun. But until September, make sure you keep your subscriptions active because, like I said, I'm going to try and get some cool audio gems coming your way. So you never know what may show up in iTunes, what may show up on QiRanger.com, or what may show up here on the QiRanger vlog channel. But until then, remember, the world is an amazing place. Go out and make it awesome.